We're about 16 hours post Ohio State losing to Miami and ending their season in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. And a lot happened, and there's a lot to unpack from this game. And I wanted to share why Ohio State lost this game to Miami. Now, if you go on message boards, you'll see everyone calling for the coach's head, calling for the quarterback's head, and a lot of words that you don't want to see people saying about other humans. Now, I know this is a sport, it's all about money, blah, blah, blah. These are still people at the end of the day, and some of the comments online are undeserved towards the coach and towards some of the players. I mean, these kids are younger than me and you. I'm 22 years old. These kids are all probably younger than me. And it's unfair to throw the blame solely on the players just because of a few plays. And since we know that I do work for the team, I'm not going to be bashing certain people. I'm just going to lay down what happened and why it is that Ohio State lost this game. And to start, there's no better place to start than when they asked Ryan Day before the game, what can you expect, or what do we expect you guys to do at the start? And he's like, we're going to start fast. We had a long layoff, but we prepared for this. He had that response about how the trainers hadn't prepared for this moment and how even though they didn't play, they were going to be ready to go. And that was not the case. Miami got the ball first, and after a couple drops and kind of a stalling on a possession, Ohio State gets the ball back and does nothing with it. And then after Miami drives the length of the field and fumbles, Ohio State does nothing with it. There was a stat that we saw that I think said they had 9 yards in the first quarter. I can't remember if that Jeremiah Smith 60-yard bomb happened in the second quarter or late first. But either way, the unproductive start after that second drive by Miami, I texted my friend Phil, shout out Phil, who's a Hurricane fan, and I said, I do not like this for Ohio State at all. Because Miami had 3 drops and a fumble and looked like the better team after the first 2 possessions, and for Ohio State not to be doing anything on offense was scaring me. And after that lackluster first quarter, we can kind of see what went wrong for the entire game. Miami had 153 rushing yards compared to Ohio State's 45, and that's after sack yardage, which also factors in this because Julian Sayin was sacked 5 times. Now, it looked like on some of these, obviously the line did not play great, but some of these were like, hey, kid, throw it away a little earlier, or hey, maybe take off. But the truth of the matter is when he's protected and when the D-line is not imposing him, he's a really good quarterback and he throws a really good football. But it seems like he either doesn't have the athletic ability or he doesn't trust the athletic ability because he could not make plays happen with his legs at all. Meanwhile, Carson Beck is picking up 3rd and 11s to extend drives with his legs, even though the commentator is like, we've never seen this before. 5 sacks, obviously a big deal, and no rushing yards except for, that third quarter, that drive that they had where Bo Jackson kind of imposed his will. It was rough. But still, you look at the stat sheet, Ohio State outgained Miami. Ohio State had way more passing yards than Miami. Ohio State had more yards per play than Miami. But the rushing yards was such a big discrepancy that it kind of costed part of the game. Now, going into halftime, I did talks with my family. I talked with some friends, talked with other family, and we were still optimistic, saying, what do we need to happen? We need to come out here. We need to score. We need to get out there. We need to score. We need to get a stop. We got to do whatever. But Ryan Day said it great in the press conference at the end. He said, we basically needed to play a perfect second half. You think you're down 14-0. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal. In a game like this, where points were few and far between, where the defenses of both teams are really good, and Ohio State's maybe a little overrated, Miami's defense for sure came to play. Ohio State's defense was fine for the record. I mean, they could have won the game. Ohio State's defense was fine enough to win the game, but there were some plays in there that obviously happened that we'll get to that decided the game. Grand scheme of things, they gave up 17 points, and that should be enough to win the game. Looking at the offensive side of the ball, 14 points will never be enough to win a playoff game. There should be no reason why Ohio State football should only have 14 points in a college football playoff game. If you're a Buckeye fan, you're looking at this game against Miami, and you're like, why is this so similar to the last game against Indiana and to last year's Michigan? Why is it that in these big games where the competition steps up that the team just cannot put out points offensively? It really doesn't make sense because you're thinking, oh, well, maybe it's like a coach thing or a scheme thing or whatever. But then we look at last year in the playoffs where they're routing Tennessee, they're routing Oregon, they're not routing Texas, but they're routing Notre Dame, at least for the first 3 quarters. They're putting up 30 points in each of those games. And in this game, it's like, are we going to score 17? And I said to my family before the game, I said, I think 21 wins the game. And now we look at the scoreboard. If Ohio State would have scored 21, they would have lost. But if they would have hit the open touchdown instead of getting sacked before throwing that pick six, they win 21-17. Instead of just looking at stat sheets and what they needed to do the entire second half, let's look at the 2 big plays of the game. The 10-point swing. Let's pretend like Ohio State, instead of throwing a pick six, goes for it on 4th down and doesn't get it. That takes away 7 points. And I know, I get it. Like, great play by Miami. And Jeremiah Smith kind of misses his block there, but the guy makes a great read. By the time Sayin, who's just snap, throw. The guy is just breaking on the ball. A great play by the corner on Miami for making that play. Really nothing you can do about that. So that's unfortunate. Not going to give Sayin the hate of that because I feel like just a lot of things had to happen. It was a great play by Miami, and I think all in all, they deserve to win the game. So I don't want to take away anything from Miami, but let's just say, sake of argument, if you want to feel better about yourself as a Buckeye fan, let's just say they miss a field goal, which we'll get to, or they go for it on 4th down and don't get it. That makes the score 17-14 in favor of Miami. And then let's say at the end of half, Jaden Fielding knocks in a field goal. And I get it. I'll tell you, this is the truest true that I'll ever say. I texted my brother. It was like 1st and 10, maybe 40 seconds left. I said, they're going to kick a field goal on this drive. And he's like, oh, you're ahead of us. I'm like, no. We're at the same play. I know they're going to come out here and settle for a field goal. And not a single Buckeye fan thought he's making this field goal. I didn't even watch the kick. I went to the bathroom. I decided, once I saw a 49-yard field goal and I saw Fielding go out there, I walked away. And I don't want to hate on the kid because obviously he's a kid. So he's probably my age. And, I work with these people. They're great athletes. But as soon as he lined up to kick, I just thought, not a high chance. And I don't know what it is, but you look at these guys like Oklahoma's banging 50-yard field goals last week. And Miami's kicker comes out and kicks a 50-yard field goal. And kind of like you're watching the Miami guy come out, confidence. And he just drills it. Kicks up, kick is good. Like, he makes a 50-yard field goal look routine. And that's something that it feels like Ohio State football, not just Jaden Fielding, has had for the last couple years. They have not had a guy that's come out and just drilled 50-yard field goals, which is hard to come by. It's weird to think when you're Ohio State football that you cannot have a reliable kicker in today's day and age, especially when people love the backup who drilled a 50-yard field goal for Ball State, I believe, last year, and he was 11 for 13 on kicks. Whole different animal at Ohio State. They make that field goal at 17-17. We're going to overtime, whatever. Regardless, I think we can all admit Miami probably deserved to win that game. Canes fans were talking to me like, oh, it's 2002 or 3, whatever year it was. Like, we got to get our revenge. I wasn't even live for that game yet. So that's how long ago it was. Canes fans, congratulations, you deserve it. I know us Buckeye fans are looking back today and being like, there's so much was left on the table. And while it's a 10-point game, it felt like it was a lot closer than that. And, it's obviously a classic. It came down to the last couple minutes. Ohio State was down 17-14 with the ball. On their money drive, it's 4th and 23 or whatever it was. 4th and 27, I don't even know. I was never going to cut it. I think if you told me going into the game Ohio State's going to score 14 points, you're thinking we're not going to win. That's not good enough. And whatever it is that needs to change from a schematic standpoint, from an offensive coordinator standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, needs to happen. And I saw people saying, like, how ready is the backup? How ready is Tavian St. Clair? And, like, Sayin's going to be here. Sayin's awesome. And you got to go read the comments online. They're ridiculous. It's like, Sayin isn't a Heisman candidate ever because he can't run. But I don't believe that, personally. Point being, the team is going to be fine. I think if you go back and you watch one of my last couple videos from before the start of the season, I picked Ohio State to win 10 regular season games and lose in the quarterfinal. Well, they won 12 regular season games and they lost in the quarterfinal. So I know we're looking at today all disappointed that they lost and how much they left on the table. But if you would have told me going back to before the season, you guys are going to win this amount of games, you're going to beat Michigan, and you're going to lose in the quarterfinal, I say, you know what? For having a redshirt freshman quarterback, that feels pretty solid for me. Team's going to get back. They're going to be fine. People are already calling for Ryan Day's job. That's whatever. I disagree with that. That's something on the channel you'll always see, is that I will not take part in that discussion. Not only do I not think I can, I do not want to, because these guys are great guys. Like, Ohio State has a great culture around them, and I know everyone just wants them to win every game. The fan base can be a little toxic at times. I root for the guys on the team, and I root for the coaches to stay there as long as I'm employed by Ohio State, and I hope that that is the case, because I do genuinely enjoy working with some of these players and coaches. It is the new year, so please enjoy your family, enjoy the people around you, and try not to let this loss distract you from the great things that we have in life. We've got another 6 or 7 months before the next season starts, so if you are here in Columbus, go pick up some other sports to watch. The basketball team is doing all right this year. They're 9-3 as I speak, but they lost a couple late games to like Pitt and to North Carolina, so maybe we get some basketball going. Other sports are great. I'll be working a lot of them. I'll definitely be involved in them. But with that being said, have a great day. Enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, and don't let this ruin your New Year's. Go Bucks.